Are you looking for a platform to advertise your brand? Look no further. Malambia.net is a website to cater to yours, your family, your business, and your community needs. Founded by a cross-border married couple, David Chisega Kombo from Zambia, Lomuti Funekejero from Malawi, Malawi, Zambia. The website intends to promote brands from all over the world in all the sectors. You can now upload your music, both audio and visual, feature in our podcast, shop online, and keep tabs on latest gossip and news and sports. Contact us by email, thencombos@malaria.net, or contact by phone +260 954 710 146, and we shall attend to your needs. Malambia.net. The legacy lives on.
Hello, how are you guys doing? And welcome, a warm welcome to all of you to my podcast. What are you thinking? It's pretty much an interlink between the media and psychology, the scientific analysis and perception of human behavior. You're with me, your hostess, Magister Lomuti Jerry Gombo, or you can just call me Lomuti. It's okay, it's alright. This is a warm zone. This is a warm zone. No judgments here, no hatred here, no negative energy here. So today, I just want to talk about, on my first episode, I want to talk about social identity. Okay, so before I get into it, I just want to give you just a brief background where the social identity really resonated from. That is there are so many theories that surround social identity, but my favorite one is the social identity theory by Henry Tajai, Tajai. Yeah, that one. He was a Polish Jew who survived the Holocaust in World War II, the time when Adolf Hitler was really mistreating everybody else that was not German. So he survived the Holocaust, and he decided, he was already a social psychologist, but then he went in depth to study human behavior, to study where social discrimination comes in the context of social identity placement. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the social identity theory, and I'm going to place it practically in the normal day-to-day activity of human beings. So before I get into social identity theory, SIT, let me explain about realistic group conflict theory. This one is basically when two groups of people, they compete over resources. So they decide to conflict against each other. They decide to go against each other just for the resources. For example, colonialism. Sorry, I have a lisp, so sometimes when I'm talking, I cannot really pronounce things properly without my tongue making a fool out of me. But anyway, that is another issue. But what I'm talking about is certain situations where people, they scramble for resources. For example, the colonial era, where Westerners came to Africa to colonize us. Well, I am African. To colonize Africans for the resources, which was the land and the minerals and everything that was in that land. So that is what realistic group conflict theory explains. But then it does not explain situations where you're not scrambling for resources, but still there's conflict. So how do you handle that? So that's where the social identity theory comes into play. So let me put it in a practical quantity. Social identity theory, it pretty much explains what drives the differences in society. So first of all, we put it like in practical sense. Let me just say, first of all, it is human nature to categorize yourself in a certain society. So what I'm saying is, you get to find yourself no matter what you do, no matter where you are, you will always be categorized in a certain group. Whether it's a family, your surname, or whether it's a school. In schools, for example, there's always the nerds, the jocks, the hippies, and all this. They put in that category. So you have to belong somewhere. If you're a churchgoer, you go to church. If you are you like going to clubs, you go to people who go to clubs together with you. So in a nutshell, if you're homosexual, you identify with homosexuals. If you're heterosexual, you identify with heterosexuals. That's where you categorize yourself in a society. It is human nature to categorize yourself anyway. But then there's what you call social comparison. After categorizing yourself, it becomes us versus them, us being you, them being people who are different from you. So the social comparison comes into play when you start to compare yourself with others who are not like you. And normally it's prejudicial. It's prejudicial, discriminatory, because it's a biased comparison just to justify yourself. Now, why do people do that? Why do people always try to make themselves feel better at the expense of other people? Now, this is where a hypothesis called self-esteem hypothesis comes into play. That's when you value yourself as better than other people that are different from you, just to boost your self-esteem. It's I can say it's a natural human way of survival. It's a survival instinct that you cannot really run away from, but you can be able to manage it. Okay, so in self-esteem hypothesis, what happens is it brings about prejudice, discrimination, and stereotypes. Stereotypes, like positive stereotypes within groups, the group that you're in, and negative stereotype to the groups that you're not associated with. It brings about prejudice, like snarky jokes where people go like, no, I don't want about other people's cultures, other people's religions. You know, for example, like a Middle Easterner, this Middle Easterner, I don't want to be with a Middle Easterner because he will shoot me, you know, he'll gun me down or he'll bomb me. I don't want to be in Africa because Africans, they're nasty, they live in trees, you know, all those things. I don't want to be with a homosexual because they're going to hell. I don't want to go to hell. So this is because of self-esteem hypothesis. We all want to feel better than everybody else. So everybody else who's not like us. That's what self-esteem hypothesis explains. And then there's discrimination. For example, people born and living with HIV and AIDS. Other people who don't have that, they usually discriminate against that because they'll be like, okay, I'm better than you, you died. But that's not really it. Regardless of that, it's not just that disease, it's every disease people have a discrimination against. So pretty much, now I'll tell you about positive distinctiveness. Positive distinctiveness is when you try to perfect your group, the group that you are in, so that it stands out and it becomes better than other groups. So this is where people who are cultured, they like to use positive distinctiveness for their group against other groups. So you find out that if you do not believe in a certain aspect of a certain group, you are deemed as an outcast, or as immoral or disgusting, or any other narrative that resonates from positive distinctiveness. But if you do follow things from that group, if you do it perfectly, you are deemed as the saint or the person that people should look up to. So that's what positive distinctiveness is. And another one, the last theory I want to explain is out-group homogeneity effect. This is when people that's in your group, you view them as the same, regardless of different characters. But if you do these things the same way, you look at them as, okay, you're one of me. Anyway, it's okay, you know. But you look at other people who are not like you in the same way, in a negative light. You know, for example, for example, Christianity. There's different levels of Christianity. Others are Pentecostal, others are Baptist, others are charismatic, others are what. But there's certain religions, there's certain doctrines that sidelines them as better than everyone else. I don't want to go into detail with this religion thing because it's very broad and it's very conflicting and contradicting and everything, but you get what I'm trying to say. So when you add this all up, it makes social identity theory. Okay, you should research on that on your own, but I'm getting to the point. So my point is, the reason why social identity exists, the reason why you're struggling with social identity is because you have not really yet aligned yourself to these theories. Or if you are in a certain situation where you identify yourself with certain people, but you find yourself hating other people so much, it also explains because of the categorization, the comparison, the self-esteem hypothesis, the poster distinctiveness, and also the out-group homogeneity. So when you realize, when you put two and two together, you're going to look at it like, okay, so this is what I'm going through. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is, human beings, we have the need to belong somewhere. It's a survival instinct. Every human being needs to identify themselves socially and personally. So sometimes social identity, it's not 100%. You have to align with personal identity because it clashes with a person's personal experience. Because our life events, what we face in life and who we are, determines who we are and who we become at the end of the day. So every day a human being is evolving. But the only challenging part is that every group, no matter what group it is, they embrace positive distinctiveness. This is when they want to feel superior over another group because they usually intentionally sabotage or bias. It's an ethnocentric behavior against another type of group. So whether you are in a certain group or another group, you find that you are forced by social norms to hate another group. You are forced to discriminate or look down upon another group, which I feel like as a person, your personal identity should give you enough conflict inside of you, enough conviction to know that we are one. Okay, we are all one, we're all human beings. Let's love one another. What I'm trying to say is, your identity should start within yourself. How you perceive yourself, how you're comfortable with certain things, how you're not comfortable with other things. Do not be so quick to fit into a social norm or social categorization before you've reflected on yourself and what makes you happy, what makes you whole, and what makes your self-esteem boost. Why am I saying this? Most of us were suppressed by the indignation of cultural norms and values and expectation of society, that we suppress our inner being, our inner peace, our inner serenity, just to please the next person. Because it is expected of us to lose ourselves just for positive distinctiveness. It is expected of us to find our self-esteem in another person's eyes, which is not supposed to be like that. As a human being, your survival instinct should put you first before anybody else. Your values should come first. So when you're identifying yourself within a group, do not lose yourself in that group. As a matter of fact, just relate to a certain extent, but also make sure that your life events are aligned with the principles that you learn along the way. Do not ignore the process of life, because the process of life is what leads to transitioning, and transitioning is what leads to growth, and growth is what leads to success, and success is what leads to accomplishment. Your destiny is done. Your destination is fulfilled. But if you align yourself and mesh yourself and hide under people or hide under perceptions or hide under bias and discrimination and prejudice, you're going to lose who you are. You're going to lose your direction. By the time you're old, or by the time you have realized what you're supposed to be, you end up losing time and resources by being what you're not. Speaking in the context of this generation, if we have to be a good role model for the ones that are coming behind us, then we need to evaluate ourselves and our life choices. Are we doing this for other people? Are we doing this for us? Do I identify myself socially first before my personal needs are met? Or do I put my personal needs first and then align myself with the society? because the last thing you want to do is lose yourself to social norms, is to lose yourself, to hide your real self because you're afraid of what people will say about you. But if you're so afraid about the same people that will say about you, if you have to walk on eggshells just to fit in, if you have to compromise your comfortability just to make someone else feel comfortable at your expense, then you're in the wrong society. Then you have viewed life in a very narrow perspective. Then you're not bold enough to live life on your own. What I can say is detach yourself emotionally from all these expectations you think and start placing yourself in a realistic context. Do I need these people? Do I need these ideas? Do I need this action? Do I need this job? Do I need this family? Do I need these kids? Always put yourself first. Then when you put yourself first, you're going to align yourself to a society that will benefit you. Not only that, to a society that will make you be a good person, a better person, and a society that will uplift you and make you reach your destination. And let me put this one last thing. Never embrace the positive distinctiveness so much to the extent that you're willing to hurt and kill and hate other people that are different from you. Recognize that the world is big, society is big, people have different skin colors, they have different hair textures, they have different height, they have different languages, they have different cultures. You are not so special that you feel like you're better than everyone else. Because if you think like that, the next man will think like that, and you know what will happen? World War III. Alright, thank you guys for watching my podcast. What are you thinking? You're with me, your host, Magister Psychologist Nomuti Jaren Kombo. Until next time, stay classy, stay humble, stay hustling.